Released right on cue, of course,
Those
really,
seconds
if you
were
think about
enough
it.
to set the internet on fire. Because hidden inside a feel-good montage about charity work was something far more rare. A brief glimpse of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's children. 6-year-old Archie, 4-year-old Lilibet, two of the most talked about royal kids in the world, and two of the least seen. Harry and Meghan have spent years protecting their children from public view. No red carpets, no balcony waves, no carefully staged photo ops. So when viewers suddenly spotted two small figures helping prepare Thanksgiving meals, it stopped people cold. Was that really them? And more importantly, why now? The clip was subtle, almost easy to overlook, but that's what made it so powerful. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't teased ahead of time. It felt intentional, like something meant only for those paying close attention. And that raised questions immediately. Why allow a glimpse at all after so much secrecy? Why include the kids in a charity video, even briefly? And why during the holidays when royal comparisons are unavoidable? Because just days earlier, Prince William and Kate Middleton had released their own Christmas card, proudly featuring their children front and center. Two royal families, two completely different approaches. And suddenly, a moment that lasted only seconds became part of a much bigger conversation. Some fans called it heartwarming, others called it calculated, and a few wondered if this was the start of a quiet shift in how Harry and Meghan plan to share their lives moving forward. Because when people who value privacy this deeply decide to show anything, it's never accidental. So was this just a sweet holiday moment, or was it a carefully chosen message hiding in plain sight? Because once you look closer, this rare glimpse of Archie and Lilibet may be saying far more than it seems. And what comes next is where things really get interesting. A polished year-end holiday video. Smiling volunteers, community outreach, clips highlighting the work of Archwell Philanthropies, the kind of feel-good montage you'd expect this time of year. No drama, no personal moments, just a clean recap of charity work and gratitude. And that's exactly why most people didn't notice what was hiding in plain sight. Because the real moment didn't come at the beginning. It didn't come in the middle either. It was tucked away at the very end, where only the most curious viewers would still be watching. As the final seconds rolled, the video shifted. A community kitchen, food being prepared, volunteers working side by side, and then two small figures stepped into frame. No names, no close-ups, no explanation. Just a quick, quiet glimpse of two children helping out, moving naturally through the space. That's when viewers started asking questions, because those kids didn't look like extras, and they didn't feel random. Royal watchers quickly connected the dots. Those weren't just any children. That was Archie and Lilibet. And the way they were shown felt deliberate. Their faces weren't centered, the camera didn't linger, there was no dramatic reveal. If you blinked, you missed it. Which made the moment even more powerful. Harry and Meghan didn't tell the world their kids would appear. They didn't promote it, they didn't even acknowledge it publicly. They let the footage speak for itself. And that choice said a lot. Because when a couple known for guarding their privacy allows even a few seconds like this, it's never accidental. It raises a bigger question. Why hide the moment at the very end? Why make it so easy to miss? Some believe it was a way to keep control, to share on their own terms without opening the door to full exposure. Others think it was a quiet test, a way to gauge reaction without committing to anything more. Either way, the response was instant. Clips were replayed, screenshots were shared, and suddenly, a holiday charity video became one of the most talked about Sussex moments of the year. But that still wasn't the whole story. Because what happened next, outside the video, made this moment even more intriguing. Just when the conversation around that holiday video started to settle, something else dropped. And this time, it wasn't hidden at the end of a montage. It was the Sussex family's official Christmas card. The image spread quickly, and for good reason, because while the video gave only a passing glimpse of Archie and Lilibet, this photo offered something more personal and more emotional. In the picture, the family stands together against a soft, forest-like backdrop. Everything feels calm, intentional, almost cinematic. Meghan leans in close to Lilibet, their noses nearly touching. Harry bends down as Archie wraps his arms around him. No forced smiles, no stiff posing. It looks real. And that's exactly what caught people's attention. The kids' faces still aren't fully visible, a clear sign that Harry and Meghan haven't abandoned their privacy rules. But the closeness, the body language, the warmth, it gave the public more than they've seen in years. And almost immediately, reactions poured in. Fans commented on how grown Archie looked. Others noticed Lilibet's hair and height, pointing out how rare it is to see any update at all. For many, it felt like a quiet gift, something personal, shared without turning into a spectacle. But not everyone saw it that way. Some critics questioned the timing. Why release this card right after the holiday video sparked buzz about the kids? Was it coincidence or coordination? That's where speculation started to swirl. Online chatter suggested this could be a carefully paced rollout, not a full reveal, but a controlled series of moments meant to soften the couple's image and reconnect with the public on their own terms. It's important to say, none of that has been confirmed, but the timing was hard to ignore, and comparisons quickly followed. Just days earlier, Prince William and Kate Middleton had released their own holiday card, featuring all three of their children front and center, smiling, clear, unmistakable. Two royal households, two holiday cards, two completely different philosophies. Where William and Kate embraced tradition and visibility, Harry and Meghan leaned into intimacy and restraint. And that contrast only added fuel to the discussion. Some saw the Sussex card as proof they're building a life far removed from royal expectations. Others felt it was a subtle reminder that no matter how private they try to be, public curiosity isn't going anywhere. What made the moment even more powerful was what wasn't included. No titles, no royal branding, no formal message to the public, just a family. And that simplicity may have been the point. Because in a world where every royal move is analyzed, choosing understatement can sometimes make the loudest statement of all. But this Christmas card didn't exist in a vacuum, because around the same time, Meghan shared something else that pulled the curtain back just a little further, and it changed how people viewed this entire holiday moment. While the Christmas card was still circulating online, Meghan quietly shared something else that shifted the tone of the conversation. This time, there were no carefully framed family photos, no royal comparisons, just a story. In a special holiday edition tied to her Netflix content, Meghan opened up about one of her favorite traditions, making advent calendars for her kids. It sounded simple, almost ordinary, but the details caught people's attention. She explained how she writes personal notes for Archie and Lilibet, messages about kindness, about courage, about being brave and thoughtful, little reminders tucked away for them to discover each day. And suddenly, the headlines faded, because this wasn't about image, it wasn't about branding, it felt personal. For viewers, it offered something rare, a glimpse of Meghan, not as a duchess, not as a public figure, but as a mom. And that mattered. Especially because for years, Meghan's motherhood has been discussed more than it's been shown. Interviews, quotes, secondhand accounts, but very few moments that actually felt lived in. This one did. There were no kids on screen, no faces, no names being repeated. just her voice describing how much intention goes into something as small as a handwritten note. And that restraint was telling. It showed that even when Meghan shares, she draws clear boundaries, which made the earlier holiday video and Christmas card feel less like random decisions and more like carefully chosen exceptions. And that's where things get interesting, because when you line everything up, the hidden clip in the charity video, the intimate Christmas card, and this quiet story about family traditions, a pattern starts to emerge. Not exposure, but control. Harry and Meghan weren't suddenly opening the floodgates. They were choosing moments that aligned with their values, moments that couldn't be twisted easily, moments rooted in kindness, family, and intention. And for many viewers, that reframed the entire holiday rollout. Instead of asking, why are they showing their kids now, people began asking, what kind of life are they building for them? A life where service matters, where privacy is protected, and where family traditions aren't performed, they're lived. Still, not everyone was convinced. Some critics dismissed it as image management. Others argued that any glimpse into their family life is calculated by nature. But supporters pushed back, pointing out something important. Sharing a story about Advent calendars isn't the same as putting kids in the spotlight. It's a window, not an invitation. And that distinction is key. Because just when it seemed like the Sussexes had found a comfortable balance, another question started gaining traction. Was this holiday season a one-off? Or was it the beginning of a new, carefully controlled chapter? Because if this really is a shift, what comes next could change everything. And that brings us to the moment everyone noticed, even if no one said it out loud. Just days before Harry and Meghan's holiday moments began circulating, Prince William and Kate Middleton released their own Christmas card, the future king and queen standing front and center with their 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, smiling directly at the camera. Clear, traditional, unmistakably royal. And suddenly, the internet was looking at 2 holiday cards side by side. On one side, full visibility. On the other, careful distance. For royal watchers, this wasn't just about aesthetics. It felt symbolic. William and Kate's card followed a familiar formula, one the public has come to expect. Their children have grown up in front of the world, appearing at official events, waving from balconies, slowly stepping into their public roles. Harry and Meghan, on the other hand, have taken the opposite path. Their holiday card didn't spotlight their kids, it protected them. Faces turned away, moments captured from the side, a feeling of intimacy rather than presentation. And that contrast reignited an old conversation. 2 brothers, 2 families, 2 visions of what royal life should look like. Some fans saw the Sussex approach as refreshing, proof that stepping back from royal duties gave them the freedom to raise their children differently. Others argued that the comparison only highlights how separated Harry now is from the institution he was born into. Online speculation began to swirl. Unverified chatter suggested that these holiday releases may have been intentionally timed, whether by coincidence or quiet awareness of one another. No evidence supports that claim, but the timing alone was enough to spark debate. And debate is something the royal family has never been able to escape. What made this comparison even more intense was the emotional weight behind it. Harry has spoken in the past about growing up under constant scrutiny, about cameras following him from childhood, about moments he never chose to make public. So for many observers, his decision to shield Archie and Lilibet felt deeply personal, not political, not dramatic, protective. And that perspective softened the narrative for some viewers. Instead of framing it as rivalry or tension, they saw it as two brothers shaped by the same childhood, responding in completely different ways. Still, critics weren't convinced. Some argued that total privacy isn't possible when you're tied to one of the most famous families in the world. Others questioned whether selective sharing only fuels more curiosity. And that's the paradox at the center of it all. The less Harry and Meghan show, the more people want to see, which makes every rare glimpse feel bigger than it probably should. And as the holiday season continued, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about cards or videos, it was about identity, about how each household defines family, duty, and legacy, and whether those definitions can ever stop being compared. Because even when nothing is said, the comparison is always there. And what that comparison leads to might shape what happens next. For some fans, the rare glimpse of Archie and Lilibet felt deeply touching. They praised Harry and Meghan for raising their children away from constant cameras, yet still allowing them to be part of something meaningful, helping others during the holidays. To these supporters, the moment felt authentic, quiet, grounded. They pointed out that the kids weren't speaking, they weren't posed, they weren't introduced or explained. They were simply there, existing in the background like any other children learning by example. But not everyone saw it that way. Critics quickly raised concerns, questioning whether including the children, even briefly, in a charity-related video crossed an invisible line. Some argued that once a moment is shared publicly, intention no longer matters. Others pushed back against that idea. They noted that the Sussexes didn't highlight the clip, didn't promote it, and didn't monetize it separately. In fact, many viewers only discovered the appearance after re-watching the video or seeing screenshots online. That detail changed the tone of the debate, because it suggested this wasn't about attention, it was about inclusion. Still, the discussion didn't stop there. Some commentators suggested, again unverified, that Harry and Meghan are walking a tightrope, protecting their kids while navigating public interest that refuses to fade. And that balance is fragile. Too much privacy, and people accuse them of secrecy. Too much openness, and critics question their motives. There's no winning, which is why this holiday moment became such a flashpoint. It touched on something bigger than the Sussexes themselves, the modern debate around parenting in the public eye. How much is too much? Who gets to decide? And does intention matter once something is out there? Behind the scenes, observers say these are questions Harry and Meghan have wrestled with for years. Harry has spoken openly about wanting to break cycles, to protect his children from experiences he found damaging growing up. So for many, this rare glimpse didn't feel reckless. It felt cautious, intentional. But even caution can spark controversy. And as the conversation grew louder, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a holiday story anymore. It was a reflection of how deeply divided public opinion remains when it comes to Harry and Meghan, especially when their children are involved. Some see protection, others see performance. Some see warmth, others see strategy. And that tension isn't going away anytime soon, because as long as Archie and Lilibet remain mostly unseen, every appearance, no matter how small, will be magnified. Which leads to the biggest question of all. Was this holiday moment simply a one-time exception, or was it the beginning of a new approach that the public hasn't fully noticed yet? Because if history tells us anything, the next move will matter even more than this one. As the holiday season unfolded, a new question began to emerge, and it's one that royal watchers are still debating today. Are Archie and Lilibet slowly becoming part of the Sussex narrative? It's important to note, nothing has been confirmed. There's no official statement from Harry or Meghan suggesting a shift, but the way these glimpses have been shared feels deliberate, small, controlled, measured, enough to give the public a peek, but not enough to compromise their privacy. Consider the pattern. First, the brief clip in the holiday charity video, then the intimate Christmas card, Finally, Meghan's stories about family traditions and personal rituals. Each instance shows care and intention. Each instance communicates something without saying it outright. Fans and commentators alike have speculated, could this be a quiet way for the Sussexes to humanize themselves in the public eye, to show their children growing up in a world guided by compassion rather than royal expectation? Perhaps. Rumors suggest that Harry and Meghan may be testing the waters, seeing how much of their family life can be shared without crossing the line. And the strategy makes sense. By allowing tiny, meaningful glimpses, they maintain control over the narrative. They decide what is seen, what is heard, and what remains private. It's a balancing act that few public figures manage so meticulously. But with this approach comes another effect. The more private they are, the more public fascination becomes. Every glance of Archie's little hand reaching for a bowl, every glimpse of Lilibet smiling in a side shot is replayed, screenshotted, and analyzed. Privacy creates curiosity, and curiosity magnifies attention. Some observers suggest that these glimpses might not just be for fans. They may serve a larger purpose, subtly shaping public perception of the Sussexes as parents. Compassionate, grounded, intentional. Not a spectacle, but a story of family life lived on their terms. And yet, there are skeptics. Critics argue that even these controlled appearances risk making the children part of the public narrative, no matter how careful the execution. Every clip is circulated, every image analyzed, and suddenly the line between private life and public curiosity becomes even thinner. Still, for many supporters, the takeaway is different. They see a family finding a way to live authentically, while respecting their children's childhood. They see intentionality, not exploitation. A message that it's possible to raise kids in the spotlight of media attention, but on your own rules. And that brings us to the big question. Is this moment a one-off, carefully curated for the holidays, or is it a hint of what to come? A slow, deliberate weaving of Archie and Lilibet into the story of Harry and Meghan outside the palace. Because if this is the start of a new approach, then every future glimpse, every small reveal, could carry even more weight. And the world is watching, waiting to see how far the narrative will go and what it will reveal about one of the most private young families in the public eye. At its core, this rare holiday glimpse isn't just about Archie and Lilibet. It's about Harry and Meghan, about how they choose to live, parent, and communicate, quietly, carefully, and intentionally. For years, the couple has been under a microscope, every move analyzed, every decision second-guessed, and throughout it all, they've remained fiercely protective of their children. So when even a fleeting moment of Archie or Lilibet appears on camera, it carries meaning far beyond the seconds it lasts. It signals choices, values, and priorities. It's a subtle statement about the kind of family they want to raise, a family defined not by titles, appearances, or public expectation, but by love, intention, and purpose. By allowing only small, controlled glimpses, they maintain balance. They show just enough to satisfy curiosity without sacrificing the privacy of their children. They reveal moments that reflect their principles, like compassion, service, and warmth, without turning family life into a spectacle. And there's another message hidden in all of this: control. Control over narrative, control over perception, control over the story of their family. Every clip, every card, every shared tradition is carefully considered. And in a world that thrives on scandal and speculation, that control is rare. It's also a reflection of their evolution. These moments are not accidental, they are deliberate, shaping public understanding while keeping the private world intact. The Sussexes are showing that it is possible to navigate fame, media, and scrutiny and still protect the ones you love most. Yet the public reaction tells its own story. Supporters are moved by the warmth and intimacy. Critics argue that even glimpses are calculated. And the debate itself reinforces the importance of the choices Harry and Meghan make. Every appearance, no matter how brief, becomes a focal point for discussion, curiosity, and sometimes admiration. Ultimately, what this moment reveals is that the Sussexes are writing their own chapter. They're creating a family life on their terms, outside the glare of palace tradition, yet fully aware of the world that watches. It's a delicate balancing act, one that requires thought, courage, and strategy, but also a deep sense of what matters most to them, raising children with love, security, and intention. So, was this holiday glimpse just a fleeting second, or a carefully chosen step toward showing the world a little more of who they are, without giving away everything? With Harry and Meghan, the answer is never simple. But one thing is clear. In these rare glimpses, in these small, deliberate moments, they're speaking volumes, not with words, but with actions. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful statement of all.